Husband of 8 years 45M wants me to choose between him and adult son 18M. I'm sorry, this will be long, but I'll try to stick to just important facts as I need advice. I'm 41F, married for 8 years to 45M. We're both on second marriages and both had children from previous relationships. I had custody of my 2 kids when we met, 10 months and 8 months at the time, but his kids lived with their mom. We're from different countries. My kid's father wasn't around, so hubby stepped in and did a great job at step-parenting when he was around, going back and forth between countries. He's on disability, so he could stay long periods of time when visiting, but also needed to fly back to his home country for his kids and doctor appointments. My children's father not being around much, he was seeing them every 2 to 3 months, we decided to relocate to his country, and I made arrangements for my kids to visit every few months our home country to see dad and/or family. They were then 11 and 13 when we moved. Through COVID, we still traveled and made it work. However, husband's disability got worse, he was in chronic pain, and while I understand how bad the pain is, he became insufferable. He couldn't stand noise, was irritable, yelled at us for nothings, and I'd never felt more isolated in my whole life. I was living in a foreign country on the countryside, not speaking the language, with a tyrant in the house. My kids' integrated school also had to learn the language and found it extremely hard. Their dad decided to get his life together and even visited us there. He wanted to be a savior, and he built this whole narrative where my children needed to say they were verbally abused by my husband because he thought it would help his case. During their summer visitation in our home country, after our first year away, he filed for custody on those grounds. The abuse allegations didn't hold in court, but that deeply hurt my husband and his and my kids' relationship. The kids were old enough to choose which parent they wanted to live with, and they'd never really had their dad around, so they moved in with him and his new girlfriend. I immediately relocated back to my home country, as there was no way I'd live far away from them. I found a place to live and only flew back to pack as much as I could bring on a plane. I started from nothing all over again. I stood by my husband because I knew that the allegations were wildly exaggerated statements. I exclusively worked from home, so I was always around. But at that time, I'd also had enough of his attitude myself. I did tell him that us staying together could only happen if he changed, because the new him in pain was an awful person. I told him that there was a sliver of truth in saying he was abusive, because, in a way, he really was. I get that chronic pain is awful to endure, but that doesn't give him the right to treat others like T. He agreed, made changes. I went through a depression period, had to get on meds, and was trying to cope with not seeing my kids every day. Follow for part 2.